Hi, this is Booker T, 5-time champion. You're listening to the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Now, can you dig it, sucker?
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, with Justin Simmons, here's Stu Myrick.
It is Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick. We got a full house. We can forget trios. We can go 8-man tag tonight.
I felt like we're getting ready for like a bunkhouse stand.
I know.
Match or something
This is like
we're getting ready for war
it's
games.
War games.
Yeah,
it's war games. I was just at War Chamber, so let's do war games. So let's go around the table. First, to my right, he is my normal tag team partner. He is Justin the Smash Simmons.
All right, we're ready to rock tonight. It looks good. Looks good. We have a lot of people in the house, so I have a lot of questions to be asked. So I'm really excited about this.
And then next to him, because we just finished Fight Night ATX, it is the one and only Eddie Cross. What's up, Eddie?
How's it going, Stu?
And then new to the group, but not new to the Horn.
Nope.
You hear him Monday nights on the Horn on Incensed Serious. You hear him Wednesday nights with 512 Radio on 105.3 The Bat, our sister station. Patrick Davis, what's up?
How's it going, man? It's good to be here.
So tonight, we are going to do something a little different because, we are on the precipice of October of 2019, which is shaping up to be probably one of the most transformative months in recent history of pro wrestling. Because if you look at what wrestling fans are going to have available to them on television in the U.S., the last time there was this much wrestling on television might have been maybe the mid-'80s with the territories.
Oh, I was going to say 1988.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
with the territories, because you could see, for instance, growing up in Northeast Texas, I had Mid-South Wrestling on one channel, I had World Class Wrestling on one channel, had NWA World Championship Wrestling on a channel, I had WWE on a channel. Plus, in '88, ESPN started showing AWA.
Exactly. If you had cable, you had that as well. So
right.
the options were ridiculous.
Yeah. So now,
I was going to say the Monday Night Wars.
No, because Monday Night Wars, you just had WCW and WWF.
2 companies, but 4 shows.
Right.
Yes. So there was wrestling like 4 nights a week.
Here's what you're looking at right now.
Well, twice a week, 4 times a piece, right? Or like 2 different shows, so 2 nights.
Right. You had Raw and SmackDown, and Nitro and Thunder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here's what you're looking at starting next week. So Monday night, still Raw.
Check.
On USA Network, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. But then Tuesday nights, we just learned on Monday, Impact Wrestling will make their debut on Access TV. They're going to start on Tuesdays. And this is starting next week. This is starting October 1st. What they're going to do is, and they released a press release, they're going to have they're going to start with their 3 pay-per-views that they've had this year. Homecoming, they're going to show on October 1st. Impact Rebellion on October 8th. And then Slammiversary, which is the one in Dallas, on October 15th. October 22nd will be a preview show hosted by Scott D'Amore and Josh Matthews. And then October 29th will be their weekly Impact Wrestling show that we are accustomed to seeing with Brian Cage and Sami Callihan and all those.
And let me tell you how smart it is for them to pick
and
Tuesdays.
Tessa Blanchard. It's fantastic. It's a huge. I know it's a huge move for them. But tell them why.
Thursdays, you're already kind of swamped by then. On Tuesday, you've only had Raw.
Yeah.
So you haven't had to deal with the NXT AEW thing yet. You're not overburdened just yet. Because you want to pick Thursday because it seems like a more fun night. But Tuesday is much smarter.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
The reason that you don't pick Thursdays because of NFL Thursday night games.
And that's the other thing.
Even those don't draw exactly well.
Right, but
I don't think anyone's afraid of those.
Well, but Impact, look, Access TV is going to play it safe with Impact because let's think about this. This is what, their 7th TV home?
Ooh,
since going back to the TNA days.
They're got like Antonio Brown.
Fox Sports Net. You have Fox Sports Net, Spike TV. Pop. There was one before that.
Paramount.
There was that was Spike.
Was it like a travel thing, like a U.S. I can't remember.
It was
what
Destination
called.
America.
Destination America.
Pop TV, And now, they've been on this Pursuit channel that nobody gets. Plus, they simulcast on Twitch. So this is the first time, probably since Spike TV, that they've actually been on a somewhat decent channel.
And they literally had to buy the channel.
And they had, that's right.
Yeah.
The parent company, Anthem Sports Entertainment, bought HDNet, which does Access TV and HDNet movies. So there's Monday, Tuesday. Let me get through real quick. Wednesdays, we are going to have the Wednesday Night Wars, and we're going to talk a lot about that. NXT, which has started. We saw it last week.
Boy.
Congratulations to Roderick Strong.
How smart was it for them to undercut AEW like that?
Extremely
I wonder
smart.
about, and I want to talk about that a little bit. But, NXT will be on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central in USA. Meanwhile, All Elite Wrestling, same night, same time on TNT with
How do you not
AEW
have
Time
a
Night.
Dynamite drop. You gotta
I'm waiting.
You gotta get one.
Yeah, I'll probably have to. Yeah, I'll have to get that one. And then SmackDown moves to Friday nights on Fox,
Horrible times.
which that used to be kind of where you put shows to die.
Exactly.
Plus, your Saturdays, you're going to have Women of Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling on Access TV. You've got Major League Wrestling Refusion on beIN Sports on Saturdays. And then the one everybody forgets, Ring of Honor, which is carried over all the Sinclair Broadcasting Group channels.
You watch your dirty mouth. Do not forget my Ring of Honor.
I still watch Ring of Honor. I do, but it's kind of been the one that hasn't been talked about much.
They've been
And we're
hurting,
gonna,
though, man.
And we're gonna hit them too.
They lose a lot of talent.
Yeah.
So
Also, let's not forget, Access TV is also the home of Friday Night Fights with MMA.
Yeah.
So they have a Legacy Fighting Alliance.
Right.
Hopefully this stuff continues.
now, are they going to continue that? Because I heard
really
something
Why
that
would
they were
why
going
would
to
they
drop
Stop it.
their MMA, but
It would be dumb.
I think it'd be
But,
stupid. But yeah.
You got
But
something
yeah,
that's
you
already
look at
built
them
in.
now. Access TV's they'll now have Impact Wrestling, Women of Wrestling, and New Japan, which you've got.
It seems like Access has kind of turned into Spike TV,
Yeah.
essentially. I'm expecting reruns of Cops.
Well, they
and
also have
possibly
those,
Wheel of Fortune shortly.
Those random concerts.
Yeah. The concerts are all right.
Yeah. I like Access.
yeah,
But then we're a bunch of single guys sitting around here talking about wrestling, so.
Yeah.
that's true.
But we are.
Let me start with this.
Oh, man. That was funny. That
All we
was
need is a
good.
basement.
Yeah. Let me start with this.
Man, that was good.
Because everybody harkens back to the Monday Night Wars back in the 90s. Now, for a lot of the fan base, this is going to be new territory. They don't really have a solid recollection of what that was like. So, going around the table, give me your memories of the Monday Night Wars. What did you prefer? Did you flip back and forth? Which one did you tape? Which one did you watch live?
Oh, I'll take this one because I remember it very vividly because I was like the prime demographic at that time for the Monday Night Wars because I was a teenager, high school. You go back to school, talk about what you saw with your friends, and it was cool.
Yeah, what year was that?
That's like that was 2000, like 1998 through like 2000.
Well, remember, so Monday Nitro debuted in 95.
95. Okay.
Or, it was 93. Excuse me. No.
93?
Hold on.
WCW
Whoa.
win 93,
Wait,
right?
Raw was in
Still
93,
stumped.
Nitro was in 95, NWO was 96. But
It
yeah,
didn't really
Nitro was
start-
95 in the Mall of America.
But
Okay.
it doesn't really start picking up until like
Right.
Bischoff gets the keys, right? And then that's when they decide to make this show. 96,
Right. Well, Bischoff
97.
took over in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Remember, he's the one that talked. He's Ted Turner asked him. He's done these interviews where Ted Turner asked him, "What can we do to beat WWF?"
Yeah, you need prime time.
And he said, "Give me prime time." He turns to the head of TNT, says, "Give Eric 2 hours on TNT prime time."
Well, and you also got to
that's
remember, since the victors write the history.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time there wasn't a Monday Night War because WWE sucked for a big
Yes.
part of it.
Sure. That was
and so
still-
it was like, do you want to watch the Trash Man, or do you want to watch the NWO? And you're like, I'm going to watch the NWO, of course.
right.
Well, people
Yeah.
have to remember this was like the very pinnacle of trashy reality television.
Yeah.
And not saying that doesn't exist, but this is like the most unfiltered. This is when Jerry Springer was like the thing to watch for teenage kids because they love the drama, they love the hardcore, the rawness of it.
The real world.
Exactly. All that stuff, right? And seeing this as a kid, on WCW, you're like, whoa, they're not using their fake names. That's their real names. Oh, what's going on here? This can't be real. Is it real? Is it fake? I don't know. And that just like entices you. But for me, so cute. But for me as a kid though, I realized I really enjoyed Work Rate as a fan, because I was a big fan of Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels as a kid, and it wasn't like the persona or anything like that. It's just like those guys could go in the ring, and then you see the cruiserweights on WCW, and you realize like, wow, you're watching for the NWO and what's going to happen at the very end of the night, but you're really tuning in to see like those guys go to work. So a lot of times I find myself watching like the first hour of Nitro and then tuning into Raw to catch the main event portions, and then seeing the replay, because they were smart enough to put a replay after the original run of Nitro, and watching that in its entirety.
Yeah.
Before YouTube and DVRs and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's remember. This was long before social media and YouTube.
Yeah.
We're talking the infancy of the internet and internet access.
I guess
so
you could have put it on VCR if you really...
You had like message boards.
ECW.
You had message boards on America Online. That was about it, really. So, for me, I was always loyal to WCW up until NWO got silly, because I was an NWA guy. So I watched Saturday Night 605. I watched that World Championship Wrestling show from the Techwood, Drive Studios. So I was always partial to WCW. But then when they started, with NWO, with them going over on everybody, and then, starting to put everybody in the NWO to where then it just got silly.
I just kept waiting on them to turn it into NWO wrestling.
Well, and remember, they tried that.
They wanted to,
They did an episode where they did the whole takeover, and they tear down the signage, and they put up the NWO, and it bombed.
Oh, that pay-per-view was sold out was so bad.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm not just talking about that. They did a Nitro.
They did Nitro, too.
Yeah.
But
And the
Everyone's in
Nitro
the group.
bombed in the ratings.
Everyone's
and they
in the group
scrapped
didn't want
it.
to fight. It was stupid, yeah. But for me, I was in college at the time, so I was kind of in and out. And I had been out of wrestling for a little bit, but when I switched my major to sport management, I got back into wrestling because there's always something going on. And at that time, everything that was happening was so interesting, with all the people moving back and forth, all the contract stuff. I mean, that's what got me back into it.
Yeah, that's what, that was the first time you got to see, like, for instance, when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash jumped. And, when later on down the road, you saw the Radicals jump from WCW to WWF. Yeah. So,
Jericho.
Patrick, what was yours? I mean, you...
Well, see, I was like, really, NWO was a starting of it. And that was really when I started, because I wasn't into it as a young kid. Like, my family wasn't into it, so I just didn't really watch it much until I got into be like 12, 13, 14, that. And it was like, you saw the NWO and you started seeing, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool. And then DX came out and you're like, oh, this is awesome. And so that was kind of, and then as you start watching it, you get more into the guys, and then you realize the guy's like, I was born in San Antonio, so you're like, all right, Shawn Michaels is my guy, and then he retires, so you had to find a new guy.
Yeah.
But watching and you would go, and you're right, you would watch in the work rate matches, you'd watch all the cruiserweights, so you'd flip between the two early promos and see which one was less boring.
Exactly.
And usually it would be Hulk Hogan saying the same thing 48 minutes long at the beginning, where he would start a thing, then stop for a minute, let Eric Bischoff say the same thing, then he would say it again. But you'd watch and kind of flip between the two opening segments, and then just watch Nitro for a while they just put on really low rate, some mediocre match with the Godwins, and
it's going to be like Val Venus versus Kai and Tai.
Yeah, and so you're just like, you don't watch that, and then you watch the main eventers on WWE who are much better workers.
Exactly.
See,
and so you flip back over and watch
the
into that, and then when it was went to 2 hours, it was just
All right, we got to take a break. We are going to continue this on. We got a short segment to do, and then we're going to get into a long segment. More on the changing landscape of professional wrestling on US TV coming up next on The Horn.
This is the worldwide desperado, the Callahan death machine himself, Sami Callihan, and you're listening to the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Thumbs up, thumbs down. No, actually, give them a thumbs up because they're pretty good.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on The Horn, continuing our roundtable on the changing landscape of professional wrestling. Quick question. So, NXT, we mentioned it. NXT premiered last week on the USA Network, at least 1 hour. Then the second hour was on WWE Network,
Did
and they're
it
going to do it
actually
again.
happen because I couldn't log in?
They did. It did. It took, I had to redo my login too, but it did happen. They're going to do it again this week, and then on October 2nd, it'll go to 2 hours on USA Network.
They're waiting like Suits to end or something like that? Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
The series finale is Suits.
You know, I like USA. It's one of the few shows I've ever watched.
Thoughts
right.
on NXT's debut on USA Network, Patrick?
You know what? It's interesting to watch him come out there and try and put NXT up against AEW. It's annoying because everyone who is an NXT fan was basically already jumping onto AEW, and so it's their only move. But I'll just watch NXT the next. I'm already used to not watching NXT live, and I'd rather start AEW like from the beginning. It's more intriguing to me to do that than a developmental brand that's so it's so built on it's going to keep flowing. And if you watch WWE on regular TV, it doesn't matter. NXT, there's the crossover is like, hey, really fall in love with this guy, just really love him. We're gonna stick him in the mid card and change his gimmick in 3 weeks because we pretend this doesn't work. And pro. So there's not as much as like I don't need to watch that live.
And does the fact that it's going to be available on WWE Network like 24 hours later, is that going to hurt ratings? Is that going to cause people to say, I'll just catch it on?
That's been my ultimate question with all of this. It's like, how are we deciding what's going to be successful? Because who in 2019, come 2020, is going to be watching all of this stuff live? Like, there's nobody's schedule that I can imagine unless you're some kid that's sitting in the basement listening to our show. If you are, by the way, thank you.
Hey, thanks, kid.
Yeah. But, like...
Get out of the basement.
But who has the free time to do all that in between commitments, jobs, girlfriends, wives, partners, what have you?
I mean, you're going to DVR a lot of it.
Well, the
if
thing
it's
is,
not. Go ahead.
What already was on USA, NXT will probably blow those ratings away.
Like
even
Suits.
with the still being on.
And see, that's
later.
that's my other question.
Even if it's
is
not big.
So I think the report came from Dave Meltzer from Wrestling Observer that it got about a 1.12 million home rating last week.
It's pretty big for cable.
I mean, for a debut, that's pretty big. I mean, they've been touting it a lot, but
Even
to
then.
have that, to get that, you had Roderick Strong winning the North American Championship from Velveteen Dream, so now Undisputed Era has all the belts.
Well, see, we foresaw this.
You had Candice LeRae become the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship held by Shayna Baszler. By the way, we're going to get that match on October 2nd, I believe. So, and that's been kind of my thing is if I can watch it the next day on WWE Network, why am I going to bother watching it on USA Network, especially if I've got something that I can't watch on another network in AEW?
Well, see, the thing is, you're just thinking about guys like us. They don't care about guys like us
True.
because we're going to watch it anyway.
True.
Yeah.
What they want is to give USA Network something that's going to get higher ratings than what they already had to make them happy, and they want to take some shine off AEW.
Yeah.
Those are their two main goals, and they're going to do both of those.
But do you think there's a point of it where it leaves if AEW destroys it in the ratings? Just AEW's ratings are 3 times as big as NXT's every week. That it makes WWE look bad?
Hold that thought.
It depends on USA.
Hold that thought. Because, like I said, this had to be a short one because we're coming up against the top of the hour.
Nope.
So, when we come back, I want to go there. So, coming up top of the hour,
wants
more
that
on
smoke.
this, more on NXT. If AEW blows away NXT, what does Vince do? That's coming up next. Listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn.
Hey, you guys, this is 6-time WWE Women's Champion and country music recording artist Mickie James, and you're listening to the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons, Eddie Cross from Fight Night ATX, Patrick Davis from Incensed Serious.
By the way, one of the best radio show names I've ever heard.
I know. Fantastic. Where'd you come up with that name, by the way?
A friend of mine. I didn't even think it up.
Oh, okay.
No, I have a crew of people that we work with in Insinserious, and one of the girls, we were trying to think up a name like that, and it was not taken, so we could own everything.
There you
It was
go.
the key.
I love it.
Nice.
Very
I love it.
WWE like that.
Yeah, but it's the entire point of the show. We're not really that serious, but we do talk sports, so we every once in a while get real heated.
Right. I get. Yeah, I've heard. Believe me, I've heard. All right, so Patrick asked a really good question, and I want to go there. So AEW Dynamite, October 2nd on TNT. And we know the first one will get a big rating because the curiosity factor. Mm-hmm. If that rating continues and it starts blowing out NXT, what does Vince do?
Well, first they take it off the network, so you can't watch it later on. That's number one, because you're giving people another option to watch it
But that's a USA decision. That's WWE wouldn't do that.
No,
but it's a USA
not the USA Network, the WWE Network.
Yeah, no, I'm saying USA is not going to make like USA will pressure the WWE to do that,
but
WWE wouldn't have no reason to do it because they want people to watch their show.
And they want content on WWE Network. They want to still get your $9.99 a month.
They do, but they'll still get that.
And whatever the price is going to be when the tiered network comes.
Or maybe they put it on a couple days later instead of just the next day.
The fear of a lot of people who are fans of NXT is that Vince, if Vince sees the ratings go down, he's going to start getting involved, and that's one of the beautiful things about NXT. So Triple H has been saying all along, it's going to be Triple H and his team, whether it's Shawn Michaels and Road Dogg and everybody that works at the Performance Center and works in Orlando, and Vince is not going to get involved. But if AEW starts getting say a 3 and NXT is still down around a 1.8, 1.9, I mean, how likely is it Vince is going to say, "Oh, we need, they need to start sports entertainmenting NXT because NXT that's the pro wrestling show,
right,
for WWE."
Well, I mean, I think you have to look at it as the ratings were always inflated on the Monday Night Wars because they would have people that watch both, and then they would say, "Well, this one got a 6 and this got a 5," and so there's 11 million people, and you go, "Well, no, not really," because it's a lot of the same people. If now you look at it and the ratings come in as DVR watching and stuff like that, and now AEW is getting a lot of watching the first day, watching the first 2 days, and NXT is getting a lot of not watching the first week, I think that's where you see it more just going, no, they're DVRing them both, and they're picking AEW. And that's when you start to go, why did we pick this battle with this? And I could see them try and switch more regular programming on to put WWE versus AEW instead of just doing NXT because I think that they'll realize that's not the battle they want.
Right. Does USA Network decide maybe let's put it on a different night? Do they decide to move it away from say put it on Tuesday night and put it up against Impact?
If USA is still getting over a 1.1 or so like that, they're going to be happy. They won't care.
Yeah,
because I guarantee it's higher than whatever reruns they've got in that time slot right now.
Very true.
I'm with Eddie on this. It's like, look, as long as the WWE is pulling in strong ratings, they don't have to beat AEW on that same night per se with that one show.
If they fall to like a 0.5,
well, and that was the big one of the big mistakes that led to the downfall of WCW. They were so worried about TV ratings that they cannibalized their pay-per-views, their house shows, everything for the sake of getting that big pop in ratings on Monday nights.
Yeah, the WWE wouldn't do this unless it was financially feasible to do that. And they know, and USA knows, that that's going to be more eyeballs, more potential sponsors because of those advertising dollars that will come in because of those new eyeballs. And you're getting a chance to showcase the NXT product. To think about this, you have to remember about these young kids out there who maybe don't come from a fortunate home where they might have cable, but they don't have like a streaming service like the WWE. Mom's not going to want to pay for that. Things are tight. But the cable, we got the cable because mom has to watch her shows.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So, so I can watch it on USA Network and not have to pay the $9.99 for WWE Network or whatever the price is.
And if you're a true wrestling fan, like you've been following professional wrestling within the last 5-8 years, you know a lot of those backstories for the guys on NXT anyways. So you want to continue following those storylines because you're waiting to see, are they going to get called up to Raw or SmackDown, or is this like NXT thing really going to feel like a big brand compared to those more established too?
And I mean, now the part that for me that's the most interesting is that the real competition of what AEW keeps saying they're going to try and do is not really what NXT is doing, because NXT is much more storyline driven. It's much more of old school wrestling, and AEW is saying it's going to be more sports based, which is what they're saying Smackdown is going to be on Fox. And both those things don't always make sense and work. It always seems like they say that it's going to do that, but it doesn't. They're just like, oh, well, we're just going to keep records, but they're not going to, because eventually it doesn't work. And I can't imagine Dusty Rhodes Kids doesn't have a bunch of Smoz finishes and everything like that.
Right, but and I'll go back to let's see, it was All Out when they would do the ring intros and they would show the graphic with the person, the wrestler's name and their Twitter handle. They would have their record. They had like a win-loss record with it. I mean, it was like weird to see it, but I was like, hold it. They've only had like 3 or 4 events, and it's got 2-0 or 1-3 or whatever, That it was an interesting twist that
now,
we were seeing on AEW pay-per-views.
Do you count house shows in this?
Well, again,
because house shows
this is AEW, so we've had Double or Nothing, Fight for the Fallen, Fyter Fest, and All Out. So that's the only the only 4. So you only had 4 events to count.
Yeah,
they're not going to count like when they go to like when SU came here for Inspire Pro. That doesn't that doesn't count. Right. They're just counting under the AEW umbrella, I guess. So
no manufactured win-loss records like a la Goldberg and AEW is basically what you're saying.
I don't,
because if wins and losses matter,
you can manipulate that by the way you finish the match. You don't have to lie about the numbers, because there will be those fans that are going to keep those records just like anybody else.
Yeah,
we all know that's the beauty of the beauty and the horror of the internet wrestling community. You're going to have some guy with the supercomputer in his basement. Spreadsheets, and it's going to have it's going to be like those media packets we get for Texas football. Wins against this, and it was he does well in days that have a Z in it or whatever, or whatever.
Can I ask? Because I need to know this. Does everybody expect AEW to just flourish right out of the gate? Everybody's just expecting this to be a hit straight when it launches.
No, as a hit, I wouldn't say. I would say it'll be big with wrestling fans.
Their first 2 shows are going to be huge.
Yeah,
just numbers-wise. Now, after that, if they can keep the momentum going, that's a whole different question.
I mean, and that's one of the things that I want to know is, so when they debut on October 2nd, AEW Dynamite TNT from Washington D.C.
Say it right.
Dynamite? No, I'm not going to do that. No. The card right now, MJF is going to take on Brandon Cutler. You've got Cody Rhodes taking on Sammy Guevara.
Nice.
You've got the Elite, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks taking on Chris Jericho and 2 mystery partners. LAX. And you've got the crowning of the first AEW Women's World Champion with Rio and Nyla Rose. What do you want to see from that first episode that says, okay, yes, they're in this, they're in it to win it?
I mean, first and foremost, work rate. You want to see good wrestling, because if they do that, then that's the one part that that they're going to be able to compete with. Regular WWE.
Patrick, I got to ask this, though. What defines good wrestling in 2019 to you? Because good wrestling to me in 2019 might not be the same exact thing.
Well, that's what I've liked about AEW's pay-per-views, though, is that they've had kind of everything. So they've had, if you could watch that Cody-Dustin match was amazing and 100% not what you would expect a lot of what the other stuff on that card was.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was an amazing match. And so when you have those, you have that kind of diversity, just even between the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Cody, that diversity of their styles are also different, that if they can all kind of find their niches and find their groups, I think you'll get throughout an hour, 2 hours, enough that you're going to get your 20-minute match that you enjoy versus a 5-minute throwaway, 5-minute throwaway, 5-minute throwaway, where you're like, okay, there was no spot. It was this, we just waited for the spot, or we waited for the run in or whatever.
Right.
I think that's exactly what you're going to see from AEW at first, because that's how it usually goes with those wrestlers. And I'm not saying that they can't work, because obviously they're stars.
Yeah.
The guys that are at the top of that card, Omega, the Bucks, Jericho, Rhodes, those guys, great professional wrestlers, right? But the problem is, though, is that you have this new show. We don't really have a definition of what's going to be just yet. We don't really know exactly how they plan to present their professional wrestling. And if you're like the Young Bucks, like, I feel that their fans expect Super Kick Party every single night. And that's great. But at what point does that become too repetitive?
Yeah, it's too much of a good thing. You're right.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that they're not main eventing this show with an AEW tag title match.
Exactly.
Well, remember, they got to do they're doing this tournament. They've got this tournament going.
And it should be ending right then.
Yeah. I mean,
how do you not end the first show
right
with the Young
now,
Bucks in the title match?
May I say right now, I'm really thinking the big takeaway from this show is that they're going to give the belt to Nyla Rose, and they're going to really play on the whole transgender thing, hoping that big media will pick up that storyline from this and kind of just put their name out there. Take a page out of the book of Eric Bischoff, where controversy creates cash.
Yeah, that's possible.
Let
me ask you this.
It's a whole different story.
So you think back to the first Monday Nitro. Lex Luger, who was on a WWE pay-per-view the night before, shows up at Mall of America. Mm-hmm. Does AEW Dynamite need their Lex Luger moment, and who is it?
I don't believe they need it, because you're trying to build this company upon your own stars, right? I mean, Jericho is Jericho,
right?
But everybody else is in the independent darling, except for Cody Rhodes, I suppose, right?
And Moxley. Let's not forget John Moxley's part.
But he already had the independent cred.
He did.
All these guys come with independent professional wrestling cred,
right?
Except for Cody Rhodes, and even Chris Jericho, to a point, already has that credibility, because he was kind of like the forefather to the Young Bucks and all these guys that took the same journey where they went to country to country to country to learn their craft.
You're not calling Cody's post WWE journey credible?
Excuse me?
You said he doesn't have independent cred?
Oh,
yeah. He didn't have it before.
Okay.
Before. Afterwards, yes. Okay. Believe me, we followed it.
Yeah.
Now, I just had something in my head.
Is there anyone left out there that's worth grabbing?
Okay, see, that's where I was going to say, because in a recent interview, Cody Rhodes has said they have not revealed their full roster yet. In fact, they've only revealed 40%.
Wow.
It's either 40% or 60% of their roster. So there are more wrestlers signed to AEW that we don't know yet.
Or are they big name wrestlers? Are there any big names that you can think of?
And that's the question. Who are they? We don't know.
Yeah, like if now Alberto Del Rio comes out, how excited are you? Is it just a guy that was on WWE and they're just like,
yeah, see, that's the thing. And I'm wondering who those people are. Who is going to be?
WWE's been locking people down.
They have. They really have. Now, one of the things that has been talked about here in the last day or two, and again, we usually don't do like rumors and dirt sheet stuff, but we've got to go with it with this because of the circumstances. It has been reported that the Revival still have not signed a new WWE contract.
Ooh.
So their deal is still ended up, I think it's like in the spring, and then I forget which one. They've got 3 months tacked on because of injury. So, there's still, I guess, a chance,
Yeah, but no offense, but it's just the Revival. It's not like it's not like Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock or somebody with that type of name cachet or Hulk Hogan, that for that matter, flipping over to AEW.
Right.
That's just like the guys that were buried now have the tag championships, and they kind of had up and down bookings, so you don't really...
But that's the thing. WWE seems to be locking down everybody, whether they're main event stars or not.
Yeah.
For that reason, they don't want them showing up on AEW. So, I mean, is that fear justified?
Well, definitely. I mean, no sense of letting your competitor have a Pro Bowl player if they're Pro Bowl caliber, or in this sense. You know what I'm saying? If they're talented,
it's almost like WWE's admitting that they're misusing guys.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't think that they could do anything in AEW, they would just let them go.
Right.
True,
right.
But at the same token, people have to remember, and I think this is something that's been looked over monumentally. That's not even a word, but you get what I'm saying. this has been looked over so much here is the fact that not everybody in AEW is going to become a star.
Right.
You're going to have people that are going to flounder in the mid card,
Just like in WWE, you're right.
You need that.
and you're going to have bad storylines that aren't going to make any sense.
Yep.
And people are going to get hurt that's supposed to be top stars, and you're going to have to try to fill in the gaps with lesser talent. And you're still going to have to try to find new talent, push that talent, develop that talent while still carry on your storylines. I don't think the fanboys realize a lot of the WWE's problems are going to become AEW's problems as they continue to roll through, because once you start, there's no off season, there's no reset button.
You got to keep going.
But luckily, they've only got 2 hours a week to fill.
This is true. That is the one advantage they have. 2 hours versus 5.
Yeah, so you don't
and
have to
7
see a
if
lot
you
of
count
those mid-carders
NXT.
and lower carders.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for them starting out is going to be able to convince guys that are not the top guys, but top guys when they're doing independent dates, you can't have 55 kickouts in your match because it ruins the main event.
Yes.
Like, you can't do 30 finishers and have 55. You just can't do it. It ruins the main event when you do this in the mid-card.
You can't have
So
every
we need
match.
you to have a clean finish and just have a clean finish and go on.
You can't have the every finish be the surprise roll up, the most dangerous move in WWE. So, all right. So we talked about what if AEW gets better ratings than NXT. I want to take a twist on that. What happens if NXT starts getting better ratings than Raw? Ooh. Both of them on USA Network.
That would
do they? Is there a scenario where that would happen? And what happens to Raw?
That's the day that Vince steps away and he goes, I have created the XFL. I'm going to put more of my work towards the XFL and making that something that can be actually successful.
And he's going to leave it to the kids?
And he's going to leave it to the kids finally.
Oh, come on. We all know what happened. He's going to call up every top star in NXT to Raw and misuse them and kill NXT. That's what he'll actually do. That's a pretty simple. He'll go, oh, you like those guys? We'll put them on Raw.
Yeah.
And then the NXT will have to rebuild, and Raw will not really use them right because that's just how they've always done it. But that's the real answer if that happened.
Because for so many people, basically Raw is it.
Raw's the flagship.
Even look at like Chad on the afternoon show. He doesn't even watch SmackDown.
You're right.
He just watches Raw.
Yeah.
So is he going to watch NXT if he doesn't watch SmackDown? Maybe once or twice. But that's about it. He's not really going to.
Right. Well, he's not familiar with it. That's
exactly.
the thing.
Not going to take the time to become familiar with it because he's got a life. He's got kids. Stuff to do.
Right. Exactly.
But he might become more aware of it.
He's aware, but he's aware of SmackDown, so he still doesn't watch that.
But do you think that he'd be more likely to tune into NXT because he's already a WWE viewer, more so than AEW? Because that's something that's totally out of his viewing range, right?
Definitely.
And I think that's something that the WWE is willing to take a gamble on, is the fact that, hey, our prime demographic, unfortunately, right now is 40 to 50-year-olds that watch Raw and SmackDown. But if they can convert those eyes to a primary teenage, young adult demographic for NXT, well, that really strengthens up the fan base.
I'm just saying there's no way that NXT is going to beat Raw. It could beat SmackDown because they put it in a crappy time slot.
Yeah.
Well, and
Friday night is when people go.
The kicker is, and the reason I didn't say SmackDown is because it's going to Fox, which is a broadcast network, and you get it on an antenna. You don't have to have cable, so the ratings are a little different.
You got to think about those kids, man. The ones that are like young kids at home on a Friday night that have nothing to watch, but they don't have cable, but they got Fox. They got the antenna.
And that's the ironic thing, because for the longest time, when it came to network television, Friday nights where series go to die. So it's interesting that they would put something that they have invested $500 million in and put it on Friday nights.
Right.
But they've been pushing it everywhere, so they're trying to get the money out of it.
And that's another thing. How much advantage does that hold that Fox has been able to promote SmackDown on NFL and NASCAR, Major League Baseball? Whereas TNT, they'll have the NBA package once the NBA starts. They can promote AEW on TV. We even saw it late in the NBA this past NBA season. Started seeing little AEW coming to TNT in October. So how much of an advantage does Fox have having all those different outlets to promote SmackDown versus TNT and AEW?
It's huge.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, as an MMA fan, watching Fox finally promote UFC was a huge deal. And now they pretty much take what they've learned from that And instead of putting it on Saturdays when people are going out and people aren't really watching Fox, they move it to Fridays where there's a little more a little bigger amount of people staying home.
Right. And I would say
control it more.
And I would say viewing habits have probably changed lately. It's probably not it's not quite as bad to be on a Friday night as it used to be.
True, especially since they're counting DVR numbers now too.
Right.
Well, hey, you guys grew up in the prime era of Miami Vice. People were staying in on Friday nights until they got their Miami Vice done, and then they were going out. So.
This is true. Hey, I had my pink sleeveless T-shirt and the
Hell
sport
yeah, you
jacket.
did, Stu.
But
Oh,
see,
yeah.
Do we have pictures though?
No
pictures,
thankfully.
man. I really want to see a
Thankfully.
picture of
I
that.
want to see that now.
Somebody's got to track that down.
Come
for
on,
me.
you've seen you've seen me in the mullet, so that's
Whoa! What?
a mullet.
I haven't seen.
I'm
that one.
51 years old.
I just haven't seen.
I grew up in mid '80s. I had a mullet because everybody had a mullet in the '80s.
I gotta see this.
Okay,
Still
we'll
gotta-
show you
still-
later.
Still got to see.
We'll show you after we go off the air. I'll show you.
Stewie is Joe Dirt.
That's right.
But see,
Yes.
the only part that worries me about all this promotion across Fox is the thing I hate most in sports that I'm a big fan of. I hate what they do in basketball to raise scoring. I hate protecting all the players so much in NFL to make it higher scoring. Everything that changes the game for the casual fan. You feel with all this, they're going to try and make everything not for any of us. SmackDown's not for us anymore. It's for the casual fan. They go, you're going to watch no matter what, loser. We're going to put it over here and try and get these other kids to watch and it just
the
makes
UFC
a product to be like, look, we're going to showcase Brock Lesnar 1,000,000% because we think he's a big name that people want to see and just look at him.
WWE does that now, though.
They do, but I feel with Fox it's going to be even more over the top of.
My question is ESPN still going to push WWE product considering now that it's like on a major broadcast network competitor and they have UFC?
That's a good question.
Probably not.
I
Especially
bet you they
because
won't.
Especially when you got Brock.
Fox has FS1, so they won't want to promote something that they'll see on FS1 that you can't see on ESPN.
They've already talked about doing a show on FS1.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're going to do. They're talking about doing the studio
recap
show.
show or-
yeah.
yeah.
And there's talk AEW may do something like on Bleacher Report Live, a similar studio.
If they're
show,
smart, they should, though. I mean, you have to compete at almost every facet, but at the same token, you have to remember what brought you to the dance in the first place, and that was being like these beautiful viral sensations on
That's
the
true.
internet that people fell in love with.
Yeah.
Well, if they were really smart, they'd be able to know who the people are that they're trying to promote, and not calling Rey Mysterio Nacho Libre
Yes.
on a NFL
Yes.
broadcast.
We're going
That
to
hurt.
continue this on a podcast only segment coming up next on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
I am in the top 1%.
This is EC3, and you are listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling podcast only segment. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons, Eddie Cross from Fight Night ATX, Patrick Davis from Insinserious. Poor EC3.
Can they send him back to NXT, please?
I wish they would.
Wait. EC3, former 24/7 champion?
Former, let's see.
You're not giving the guy enough credit, man. He just appeared on Raw.
Yeah, and got decimated
Yeah.
by...
How many people get to appear on Raw?
He appeared on Raw the same way the guy in the front row appeared on Raw.
yeah.
He
Very
appeared on
briefly.
Raw the same way Barrett Brown appeared on Raw. And
He
Barrett
appeared on
Brown
Raw-
isn't even signed with him.
Yeah, he
and
appeared
we
on
love
Raw
Barrett
playing
Brown.
a mulky. That's what he did.
Yeah, he was a mulkey. Yes, exactly.
He's still getting paid. He has a T-shirt. Can't
See,
be that bad to be EC3.
You have to remember, Justin. As long as the check clears, he'll do the job. he is the epitome of the job squad. All right, so
It's amazing that you're just a guy whose gimmick is that he's like prestigious and rich. Is you're like, he's got his small check that he's cashing for not being on TV.
Well, I mean, he didn't get rich overnight. He invested it many times in different funds over the years.
There's also
penny saved, penny earned.
and Aunt Dixie. I'm sure it helped.
Little
bit. There was something. Which one you brought? There was something you were talking about during the break. Oh, so this Rob, do you buy in this whole season premiere? I mean, because there is no. They always say there is no off season, but now you're saying it's a season premiere
They've done this
of Raw.
a couple of times just to make it feel like a bigger show. It's just a marketing ploy.
But if it was me, my season premiere every year is right after Monday Night Football ends.
Yeah.
And you go, hey, I'm getting back this entire NFL audience.
Well, and
That'd be good.
for a long
That's what I would do
time. For a long time, it felt like the Raw after WrestleMania was a season premiere.
And if that's going to be the season premiere, shouldn't this one have been the season finale, and shouldn't it have been bigger?
And well, I agree. Now, so the season premiere, they are going to have Miz TV with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair.
Oh man, it was so delicious to hear the crowd actually boo Hogan.
That was,
like he deserves.
and I was surprised they picked that up that well, because it was very audible.
It was.
I'm wondering what happens next week.
They just pipe in some cheers over the TV feed like they normally do with Roman Reigns when he used to get booed.
But I mean, in the live crowd, if you're sitting there, I guess they're in the Staples Center next week.
Maybe don't bring back Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe also don't give live mics to two guys who are known for rambling and not being coherent for the past 15 years.
They'll definitely be watching the signs a little closer.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Let me ask you this. We talk about Wednesday Night Wars. So, in your mind, who are the big guns for AEW and NXT?
The big guns?
The big guns. Who's that? Who's
star
that?
Power?
Yeah, as in the star power. I mean, we figure AEW, it's Chris Jericho and Cody and the Bucks. NXT's got Undisputed Era, Johnny Gargano, Shayna Baszler.
Velveteen
Who
Dream
else?
now.
Yeah, Velveteen Dream. Who else, though, as far as big guns?
But see, other than Moxley and Jericho, I don't think you're rocking anyone in AEW. I mean, maybe Cody at this point because you get the name.
Kenny Omega.
And Kenny Omega is still, unless you're a wrestling fan watching New Japan,
he's not well known.
You don't know. He's not mainstream media.
So you got the Bucks because they've been all over the independent circuit for the last
Hot Topic machines.
They
generate money.
The T-shirt
just
company.
put out the shirts and people will know.
Yes.
Have
So
some
if
idea,
you've watched wrestling in the past 10 years now, you've probably seen Cody at some point. So he gets, at least if you watched it, I mean, because he's been on
WWE
forever.
rub.
Yeah,
Same
so
thing
he's
with
got that
Jericho.
little bit. At least you know him. Jericho, I mean, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
So you got that.
And don't forget Dustin.
I mean, they're still trying to get a rub off of Tully and Arn. So
True.
They are.
And it's kind of hard, and no offense to Dustin, it's a little hard to push him without the Goldust gimmick because people just knew him as Goldust. For a lot of time, a lot of people didn't even know him as Dustin Rhodes. He just knew Goldust. So the people getting a chance to meet Dustin the wrestler is new for a whole new generation.
it is.
Get to meet the natural.
But I think Dustin, you're adding in. Okay, we have Cody and Dustin.
But
this is Dusty.
Yeah.
And you're trying to pull that kind of cloud out of it.
And there is the longevity of Dustin, that helps him a bit. Now let's go opposite end. Secret Weapon. So who is that? Who are those stars for NXT and for AEW?
It's everybody
that they're going to use, that they could use, that are going to all of a sudden catch eyes.
Are you kidding?
I'm going to say Darby Allen. Darby Allen is going to be that one that's going to catch a lot of eyes because of his look and his absolute fearless, reckless.
He can't do that every week.
He can't do that every week.
He's going to try.
And that's the thing. From the way from the reports that we hear, they're going to do this to where not every wrestler is going to be on every week.
Well, they can't, yeah.
So, and that may be where this, the rest of this roster that we haven't heard yet, that's where they come into play.
But if you have a main event star, like you mentioned, with the belt, you want them there every week, right? You can't have them not be on TV.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree. Now, but I would say this. I would give up every week as long as they don't pull a Brock Lesnar. In other words, show up once every 4 months.
Yeah.
If they do every other week, okay, that's cool.
Well,
at least to keep that in the minds of the fans.
This is what I wanted to say, where it's going to make AEW's job a lot harder because you mentioned the secret talent that's available, and while we might not know the entire roster that's available for AEW, I do know a lot about the roster for NXT. And Jordan Miles, aka ACH, Keith Lee, Donovan Dijak, all those guys that are not part of the main event scene right now. Those guys are going to be the next wave of NXT guys, and all those guys are awesome. Like, proven, tested, world over, wrestled all over the world, can put on good matches already. You saw Jordan go toe-to-toe with Adam Cole, the NXT champion, just a few weeks ago, and a phenomenal performance. And that's what you're going to get from these guys every week. I mean, there's no doubt that NXT has it from top to bottom, the better talent.
Right, and they pull that. In fact, they're doing Dijakovic versus Lee on NXT this week.
And if you haven't seen that match yet, because we've been fortunate enough to see it on the independent scene,
oh my God,
amazing. So I can only imagine what they're going to pull out for NXT.
But we also know that this NXT roster is not staying. So AEW, if you do well at AEW, you move up the AEW roster. If you do well in NXT, you're 50-50 going to main roster. And we don't know, they're doing the draft in a few weeks, how many guys are going to pull off NXT in the draft.
That's a good point.
That is true.
So, I mean, you could see the whole Undisputed Era could be gone in 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks.
But
when
we all know they won't.
They won't be. Velveteen Dream
because they got all the belts. So,
but it's never stopped them before.
Velveteen Dream is that secret weapon that you're talking about, because that dude, he could be a main eventer on any of the shows right now. So him staying in NXT, like you said, about 50-50.
Yeah.
But see, I put secret weapon for AEW as Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you say marketing to children totally works.
Yes.
Middle-aged women love Jungle Boy because dad.
You've added Marco Stunt now.
Yeah.
But that trio is going to be just,
they got the kids in, they've got the adults tie-in, they have a mainstream tie-in because of his dad.
Yeah.
So I think that's one where you just go, this is going to pull a ton of eyes when they start doing crazy stuff.
Although they're going to have to call him Jungle Boy Perry.
Yeah,
for it to really work. You can't just call him Jungle Boy.
Yeah, they really need to make the connection.
I think there's a way to make it work, but I agree. They'll have to change it up.
And I think for a while they will. They'll tout the fact that he is the son of Luke Perry.
They're going to go like John Cougar Mellencamp type thing.
I mean, he finally changed his tights up a little bit, so I think they're trying and move him a little bit more towards not being just such an independent wrestler and trying to make him more of a star.
That's the other thing too for me, and this is what I was like talking with you about last week, Stu, where I'm just like, they got a lot to learn in a quick amount of time. And don't get me wrong, they have the old hands on hand that have gone through this, but there's a lot of those guys that never worked a televised match yet.
That's
true TV, have to meet the cut times like you mentioned earlier, have to know where you are in the run of show so you don't ruin the finish at the main event, things
and
like that.
They have put together a good crew backstage with the likes of Dustin Rhodes and Jerry Lynn and Tully and Arn and Dean Malenko.
The coaches can only do so much. Players have to execute.
The players have to execute.
Well, and you see in NXT, you get the added point of they have agents, and now they have the coach, and so they have the people that are working with them at the performance center, and then you have another one working with you on TV. And so there's kind of this dual level of learning that AEW, I think they're going to try and do that, but they don't have a performance center where it's like everybody meets together and we go, hey, we're here 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And then so there's definitely a lot of advantage in NXT.
And that's another thing to talk about with NXT. What is, how much of an advantage is it that NXT on USA Network is going to be Full Sail University? They're going to be, they're calling it the NXT Arena now. But that's going to be, you're not going to see them touring or anything. They'll still do their house shows. But TV is going to be in Orlando every week, right there where they work.
Center stage.
Yeah, it's basically their center stage. You're right. I mean, how big of an advantage is that going to be, or how big of a disadvantage could that be?
It could be a big advantage just because of the crowd that's there. But aren't they used to being there like a couple times a month, and then they film like 2 or 3 shows?
Right.
So now you got to get those same people there every week and weekend.
I think
a little tough.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I think the bigger part is it's going to make it to where you need the big events. And yes, the takeovers will help with doing that. But no one ever seems like a huge star in that place. Like, you're not going to seem, it doesn't seem like, oh, this guy is clearly the biggest guy. So if Cody and Kenny Omega are wrestling in the Sears Center and you're wrestling in NXT Arena, it doesn't matter how good your match is. It looks like you're playing a smaller place, and just visually, it's going to be something that casual people look at and go, "Oh, well, that's a bigger star."
True.
We talk about MLW.
Yeah.
You watch MLW and you just go, "Yeah, it doesn't look right."
Yeah.
It's in much smaller venues, and I was just at the ones in North Richland Hills, and it's a smaller venue, but there is something to be said for the small crowd given the bigger energy.
I agree. I'm saying more of when you're trying to make a star.
Right.
When you're trying to make that star that steps above wrestling, that guy,
just flip
it's
it
hard to
visually.
Do you find it interesting, and this was something I just learned, that like MJF, for instance, he's, of course, signed to All Elite Wrestling, but he's going to continue working with MLW because he and Richard Holiday, the Dynasty, are now the MLW Tag Team Champions. And apparently he's going to continue working with MLW at the same time as AEW. This isn't like Jon Moxley does his stint with New Japan over in Japan, but then comes back and he can only do AEW in the United States. MLW is a U.S. company.
Is that a sports
and on TV?
But it's a smaller company on a smaller channel, smaller viewership. So really, only the hardest of the hardcore. Will know about it.
It's somewhat of on a different scale.
It is
what ECW was when WWE would send guys back there and go back and forth.
True.
There's a point of it where you go, okay, well, if we let this guy actually get some ring time, because AEW, he's not like a guy like MJF has so much potential, but he needs ring time. He needs to get better, and if he's wrestling once a week for AEW, but if he's only wrestling once a week, he's not going to get down all the psychology of the ring and how to. So you just need more time, and so it doesn't hurt him right now. And when you get him, when you go, okay, now we're building you up and we're putting you in the title picture, and you're not the valet, you're the contender, then what might get you off that MLW contract?
It's almost like Major League Baseball.
It is.
And send a guy down to the minors for a little bit.
Could you see where maybe an MLW or something becomes kind of a, for lack of a better term, developmental partner for All Elite?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Because it just benefits both parties.
Well, for a time being, from everything, and I don't personally know Court Bauer, from everything you hear is they really like him, but then people seem to have a problem with him. So you can imagine it goes south somewhere.
See, I've heard the same, and we've had him on the show, and he was fine, and like I said, when I went to, I've done 2 MLW events. They've been all incredibly gracious and everything, but
it seems like people have had fallings out with him.
I've heard that though.
So you could see it going south at some point. But for the time being, while AEW is building, while they have this roster that we don't know everybody, and they don't have all the TV, and while you still just need to kind of figure stuff out.
Yes,
it's nice to have a working relationship with them, and then if you get past it, you get past it.
Well, that's the other thing too. It's like, well, does MLW, are they just hemorrhaging money? Will they need to form that bond in order to stay afloat? That's another thing too. I mean, if they're doing great as a single entity, then there's no reason ever to combine.
True.
But if they feel that they have to find a way to survive in a landscape which is more cutthroat and ruthless than it had ever been before, then yeah, maybe let's try to stick around.
Well, as long as the cons understand that they're going to lose money at first, and it could be a while before they actually turn a profit, they'll be fine.
And this
is more of a labor of love for them anyway. It's not like,
from everything you hear,
leader.
Yes, this is Tony Khan absolutely loves this. He's in this for the long haul. You hope that's the way it is.
Right.
Let's talk about Impact for a second, because as we said, Monday they announced they're going to be on Access TV on Tuesday nights. We know the history of Impact / TNA wrestling. They've been on death's doorstep more times than we can count. Is this the move that finally keeps them away from death's doorstep for a while? They are now on a solid TV network that their parent company now owns. A network that is known for combat sports with their MMA offerings and with New Japan and now with WOW Women of Wrestling. Is this that first step they take in becoming, say, like the TNA of the mid 2000s that was really strong, that was a strong alternative to WWE?
No, because now they have become a content producing channel and they have to worry about the bottom line instead of just impact. Because the ownership group became TV owners. They're not just professional wrestling owners now. They own a whole television station, a whole network that they have to fill. It's not their concern isn't just going to be about impact anymore. I think this hurts them more than it helps, because at least I've seen Shark Tank. Mark Cuban usually doesn't just give something away unless it has no value. So I'm just thinking, like, what's the con here? Somebody did dirty, and who is it?
Yeah, and I am wondering about why they decided to give Anthem the majority interest in this.
Well, I was thinking if Anthem is doing their job correctly, they're looking at the books, they're seeing that it's a healthy property. Otherwise, you wouldn't buy into it. You'd pick something else. You know, even if it wasn't as well known for combat sports, if this one's already losing money, like hand over fist, you'd avoid that one.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking they're okay if they're doing their job correctly. Now,
You would hope.
If their only stress is making their money back, then that can be a problem as far as how they run the business. But if they're just okay with it, a slow growth, should be fine.
And they've got the stars, and they've got the talent, and they've actually been putting on some good shows. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I was at Slammiversary in July in Dallas, and it was a good show from top to bottom. You know, and the headline was Sami Callihan and Tessa Blanchard. It's just you hope that they can take that, continue that on a more solid footing with Access TV, and help grow that property and that content. And maybe this does become a viable another option for wrestling fans, right?
I think it's only a good thing because basically the people running the business have nothing to do with the actual wrestling show. They don't create the storylines. They don't get in the ring and wrestle. They're just running numbers.
Right.
So they're not going to say, hey, we need a storyline with more boobs in it because we need more eyeballs.
Right.
You
hope they don't.
No,
I wouldn't think so because that's not something that's really going to make money.
But they're going to be the first ones to tell you, like, hey, our numbers are slipping and we need to make some money, so you guys better change up something because we're going to cut you from the product. Because ultimately, Impact Wrestling doesn't have to stay on Access if they deem it not a quality fit for the programming.
True, but they basically bought this for Impact.
That's what I'm assuming too. But things change. If something's earning more money, then maybe we'll go play with this toy more because
that's always possible. Yeah, but
yeah.
Can't do anything about it. It's like getting married. It's like she can always leave you. What can you do about it?
That's right. That's right.
But can I ask? How long does TNT give AEW to show that they're a true commodity?
I think it's just like NXT. AEW is going to pull in bigger ratings than whatever TNT had on in that segment anyway, so they'll be fine. If they're getting and they said NXT got a 1.1.
1.1 million viewers
for cable. That is great.
Yeah.
Okay. The UFC has the Ultimate Fighter on, and it's been declining in ratings for the last 7-8 years, but for the channel that it's on, they're still fine with it.
Right. And that's the thing. It's
and
TNT,
I can't remember the channel it's on.
And the reason they put it on Wednesday nights is so it wouldn't interfere with the NBA coverage. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're right. Whatever movie TNT puts on,
Friends reruns, or
whatever. Yeah. It's going to outdo that.
The bigger problem for them is as long as they stay in line, because that was what always got WCW in trouble at the end. Was they would come out and go sex, violence, blood, and once the people went, this is trashy, we don't want that. If you don't get trashy and you present it as a legitimate product in 2019, I don't think TNT has any problem with it. It's if you come out, it's just TNA and blood and headshots with chairs, that's going to get you in trouble.
So basically, just keep Vince Russo away, and then you'll be fine.
Then, for every company out there, keep Vince Russo away.
Even then, these channels show like Law and Order SVU day and night.
Yes.
I mean, what's going to be worse than that?
That's right. You're right. Access TV also has New Japan Pro Wrestling. We've heard New Japan Pro Wrestling. They've had their best year yet, with especially with the growth of their market in the United States. In fact, they're about to have a series of cards this weekend on the East Coast.
Nice.
Which include the Rock and Roll Express. How crazy is that? The Rock and Roll Express. Nuts. In fact, I saw one.
They make me feel young.
I saw one night. Let's see, and I'm pulling it up. So they got their
watching an ROH them against the Briscoes.
Yes,
I'm like, that's not even right.
Well, they had them. That was in the Crockett Cup tournament.
Yeah,
it was Rock and Roll Express who were in the original Crockett Cup tournament taking on the Briscoes.
They probably drank from the original Crockett Cup.
I'm sure they
kids.
did.
Yeah, they did.
Check this out. So on September 28th, that would be Saturday night in
Saturday night
at the Hammerstein Ballroom. New Japan Fighting Spirit Unleashed. One of the matches.
Ooh.
Get this: LIJ, Bushi, Takagi, and Naito taking on the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Ricky and Robert.
Oh my god!
I mean, who? This is
this
wrestling
real life?
in 2019, ladies and gentlemen.
Or 1989.
Or 1989,
Can't
yeah.
tell.
I mean, that's incredible.
Well, I hate to be.
Can we bring it out, Iceman King Parsons?
That's where I was just about to get at, though. I'm like, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but sometimes I really don't mind. In this case, I don't mind. For as much love as you have for the Rock and Roll Express, and for as much regard that we hold them in, I mean, how many 14-year-olds are clamoring to see Ricky and Robert?
I know I wasn't when there was the new NWA and WWE when I was a teenager.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think their parents that would go to the show with them would tell them about the battles they had.
And
with
some people would go
If it's part of
just
a
for the
balanced
story.
card, it works.
Right. And again, this is a balanced card. You've got another Okada and Ibushi taking on Evil and Sonata. Kenta is defending the never openweight championship against Yoshihashi. You got Amazing Red and along with Goto and Ishii taking on Chase Owens, Gato, and Jay White from Bullet Club. You've got Guerrillas of Destiny and Jado taking on Roppongi 3K.
You better have God.
Oh yeah, you got the tag champs there. So, the Rock and Rolls are also going to be Friday in Boston. They are. Where are they on there? In fact, it's Ricky and Robert taking on Chase Owens and Jado from Bullet Club. Plus, Lance Hoyt's on the card.
That's crazy. What are they, like 62?
You've got a 6-man tag with Tanahashi, Okada, and Bushi taking on Evil, Sonata, and Naito from LIJ. The Guerrillas of Destiny will defend the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles against Sho and Yo Roppongi 3K. So, I mean, it's a special attraction.
Yeah.
That Ricky and Robert. And I would say that's probably to get the older wrestling fans to show up.
It's like, hey, it's not just Japanese fighters.
Right.
There's someone you might recognize,
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just want to say, while we're talking about tag teams, didn't AEW sign the Lucha Bros?
Yes. Lucha Brothers are with AEW now.
Okay, because I haven't heard much about them coming up in the next couple of weeks, but they're in the tag tournament, right?
They are. I think they are. Let me look. I think I still have the bracket.
I prefer Pentagon as a singles wrestler myself. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But while we're at
yes, the Lucha Brothers will wrestle on October 16th in Philly against what they're calling the Jurassic Express, Lucha Boy or Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus.
Okay, and is that for TV?
That will be on TV. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
cool.
the part of the tag title
All
tournament. You've got Young Bucks taking on Private Party October 9th in Baltimore. Lucha Brothers and Jurassic Express on the 16th in Philly. Best Friends versus SCU in Philly on October 16th. And then they'll do the semifinals October 23rd in Pittsburgh, and the finals will be October 30th in Charleston.
Yeah, I really appreciate how they're pushing the tag team division and actually, having actual teams.
Yeah, I agree.
But while we're talking about luchadors, have you seen Cain Velasquez in AAA?
Yeah.
What do you think?
We did. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Dude, so far ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So far ahead of the curve.
It's amazing that he's barely able to have an actual fight in the octagon without injuring himself, but here he is pulling off Hurricane Ranas
I know.
and stuff.
Crazy, isn't it?
I mean,
Well, the
I
ring's
haven't
a
heard
little
him do a
bouncy.
promo yet, but I mean, everything else looks good.
Everything
right?
else looks fine.
So you can book it soon, someday. Brock Lesnar
and Cain Velasquez.
versus Cain Velasquez in the
WrestleMania.
WWE ring.
WrestleMania 37.
Dude.
You want to pay to see
Lesnar.
that?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I've been trying to tell people.
I
I
would.
was all like, Stu, if
I would-
Brock and
I would-
Kane...
Brock
I would
might
do
have
that.
a chance this time.
I just don't want to see Brock Lesnar, German suplex, John Cena 16 times again, or anybody else on the WWE roster 16
I like
times
watching
again.
that.
Oh, he's gonna do Kofi Kingston 70 times.
Oh, good
yeah,
Lord.
exactly.
And then Kofi will still win somehow?
no.
Somehow?
They're going to give the title to Brock.
And hey, Vince, don't think we haven't noticed that all of a sudden, we've got new TV shows. We got to take the titles off all the black guys. Not cool.
Thank you for
Not
calling him
cool.
out.
Not cool, man.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
And
That's
listen,
right.
storyline-wise, it needed to happen at some point, but the timing is shady.
Am I the only one that realized that the Street Profits are essentially the New Day of Raw? Same exact cadence about how they talk about the show, and they basically...
But the New Day wrestled.
No.
Yeah, New Day's yeah.
I was noticing that they're just
Street
hosts
Profits
and not
are-
actually wrestling
In
anymore.
fact, is it either this week or next week on NXT? They're getting their rematch against I still call him Red Dragon, O'Reilly and Fish for the NXT tag titles.
Well, let's just guess that they're going to be drafted to Raw pretty soon anyway, so it won't matter.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
One company that we have not talked about a lot is Ring of Honor. And, it's funny. So Justin and I were talking maybe a couple years ago about how Ring of Honor was as strong as could be. They had all the they had the solid footing with all the TV stations on Sinclair, like CBS Austin. They had the Bucks, they had Cody,
Saturday
everything.
Night's Run Midnight.
They had, the relationship with New Japan was going well. And now it almost seems like they're kind of the
odd man out.
They are, because they're the ones that hasn't changed anything. They're still Sinclair Broadcasting, but the roster obviously looks much different than it did. There was
Luchasaurus.
There was talk about when Sinclair Broadcasting purchased all this Fox Sports regional networks from Disney that ROH would end up on those, whatever they do with those, which don't know. I mean, they're still called Fox Sports, Southwest, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But and then you also have this feeling like the relationship with New Japan isn't as solid as it once was. I mean, it's still there; they're still okay, but there's not a whole lot of like you've got New Japan running essentially ROH venues this weekend, except ROH isn't a part of it.
Yeah, it seems like everyone else has gotten bigger. So first, New Japan, they're coming into the U.S. more on their own. AEW started. NXT's getting bigger. MLW's getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's filtering talent from ROH. They still got people coming up new, but are you really excited about Lifeblood?
Yeah, they just signed Joe Hendry, the British wrestler.
Yeah,
signed him to ROH. He's going to be in a feud with Dalton Castle.
And Dalton Castle being injured doesn't help.
And this
Jay
is
Lethal's
something
not on top, but I do like Matt Taven.
I'm a bit,
I'm a big Matt. Unfortunately,
I'm a big Matt, and that's the crazy
heel.
thing. He gets lambasted and booed when he won the title at the Garden. He got booed vociferously, and it wasn't just he was a heel. It was as in, no, we don't want Matt Taven as the champion.
Yeah, everybody went Skrull,
and I'm going, Matt Taven's fine. Skrull may have been a good alternative.
As much as I love
but
Skrull,
then again,
he's smaller than me.
I understand.
He is smaller.
It's still got to be believable.
Plus,
his
contract ending really soon,
and he
don't
wants
know
to go to AEW with his friends.
Well, I don't know.
No?
They made it seem like he wants to be the top dog on his own 2 feet, but it's like he kind of thinks that by not winning the title and having his options open, that was going to create that. From what I understand, that was going to create Skrull the megastar.
He's got to understand he's still 5'6".
He is. Yeah,
coming from someone who's 5'6".
Oh, I believe
it's hard to get over.
Yeah,
but you get used to it. You got to figure out where things are and where you stand. He's never going to be that big top dog. Rey Mysterio doing it was, the exception that proves the rule.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
But I thought this is 2019 professional wrestling, so therefore, we can look past that.
They're all
now.
kind of I mean, Jonathan Gresham
stand him up against Damian Priest. Now I was going to say Punishment Martinez.
Yeah.
Yes,
but stand there and you just go, no, you're not. I'm supposed to believe you're going to beat that guy. Come on.
Well, I mean, Bret Hart beat Diesel.
And
he's also
he's a heel.
6'3".
You just put him with a heavy. It's old school. You just put him with a heavy.
Yeah.
You just say, I know he's small, but then this guy punches you.
There are ways.
By the way, have I said?
And he's a good star himself, but I'm just saying.
Have I said how much I like Damian Priest's gimmick?
The Archer thing?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
It's kind of cool.
Was that what Matthew McConaughey was doing in the Suites?
I think it was. Yeah. I think it was. I mean,
I prefer Punishment Martinez because that was bad.
I do prefer Punishment Martinez. I thought that was. I said lots of times he was Ring of Honor's answer to The Undertaker.
Yes.
Yeah, he was supposed to be ROH's next breakout star.
And now
he
he's
really was.
A nice guy, sort of. He doesn't have that edge, it seems.
I don't know that they've figured out what he is yet.
Yeah, I can't figure it out.
That's the thing.
Archer of Destiny?
Yeah,
what is it?
Archer of Infamy.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So
why does everybody have to have some sort of monkey in the WWE? You can't just be
Can't just be the name.
Just let him be-
Yeah,
make
you have to
Damian
be like
Priest the badass.
You have to be like the monster among
Yeah.
men, or you have to be the beast slayer, or you have to be the A-lister.
Well, it's got to go in a T-shirt.
There you go.
It's true.
Michael Cole has to
Randy.
yell it really
And,
loud.
yeah.
Have you seen
Repeatedly.
Spaceballs?
Talking about Michael Cole, who is?
In the dog poo. In the dog
Do you think Michael Cole's the right guy to lead the SmackDown team? Because there's talks about him leaving the Raw booth in order to join SmackDown, and they're talking about reverting back to 2-man booths.
I would be all for 2-man booths. I think 2-man booths.
But Michael
doesn't
Cole
work in-
being the voice
Of
of
SmackDown.
SmackDown.
You know what they should do?
Because he said that they would move up Vic Joseph.
Because Vic Joseph did a really good job filling in for him. Was a few weeks ago on Raw.
Yeah, they said that he would be Raw, Cole would be SmackDown, and then your NXT would still remain the
Plus,
same.
you got to figure out where Graves goes.
Oh,
He's
they would
not gonna
take
do-
Dion. They would take that Madden.
Dio Madden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guy.
Brandon Williams, former Texans offensive lineman,
Something
trained
like
under Booker T. In fact,
If they really want to make it more sports-like, they need to bring back the coach.
Jonathan Coachman.
Someone that was
I
on
think-
people
I
would recognize
think-
from ESPN.
I think Coach is having too much fun doing Golf Channel.
I wouldn't doubt that.
I'm serious. He's loving that stuff.
But you might never. But you never know. You might see Coach come back and do like the studio show with what's her name?
Well, and that's the thing. There's talk. The studio show. It might be Renee Young.
Yeah.
Golf
Booker
Channel's what,
T might
ABC?
be involved with it, but they might have some others. But yes, they're allegedly they're going to go to 2-man booths. Now, I think NXT they're going to stick with the 3 with Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Beth Phoenix.
I'm okay with that.
Which and it's horrible to say but Beth Phoenix is doing a better job with NXT than Renee Young does with Raw, quite frankly.
But why is that a bad thing to say? I mean, Beth has actually been in the ring. I mean, she knows what she's talking about.
Right,
Yeah.
but Renee Young's a broadcaster, and I say Beth Phoenix is the better broadcaster.
Okay, well, I mean, sometimes that happens.
It's and I hate to say that about Renee because I know she's working hard and dealing with that stuff, but there's something about her piece on Raw that just doesn't fit.
How much of that do you think would be the just trying to fit in next to Corey Graves?
And I think that's a big part of it.
That annoys a lot of people, seems like.
That's
Booker
one
T
thing
seems
I
like
would
you wanna
love
punch
to
him in the
see
face.
is
Yeah.
look, Corey Graves is a fantastic heel analyst.
Sometimes he literally makes me laugh out loud.
But the whole
Does a great job.
Yeah.
But when you spend 2/3 of a match bickering back and forth,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, guys, there's a match going on. You need to at least talk about the match.
Because it's not for us, guys. It's for the new generation. They're trying to figure out a way to kind of get those eyes on the product from a younger generation. And the thinking is they don't have an attention span. It needs to be more like what we're doing right now. They kind of want this feeling as we're watching Raw.
Well, they can do that just without the bickering feeling.
Yeah,
You gotta kind of snipe.
You can do that. You
and
can make
get
it
your shots
interesting.
in.
But they kind of want it to
Get
be
your
like you're
jokes in.
hanging out with your friends. We're supposed to pretend like they're like all
But
of this
Corey
group.
sometimes is that friend that you want to kick the hell out.
Exactly.
I almost cursed. He's that guy that when he shows up, you just go, ugh.
Well, and I think
But then the other times
it
he
takes
makes you
away.
laugh.
I think it takes away from the product
It does. I think so, too.
because you get distracted by Renee Young and Corey Graves going at each other, and you forget there's a really good match going on.
And it feels like sometimes she gets flustered and can't get into her groove
That's the thing.
because she's bickering back and forth
Yes.
with Graves.
Well, she's
Who's
just not
trying to be funny, but he's not always funny.
I know, but it's also a different type of broadcast. She seems very comfortable as a straight-ahead broadcaster, but she doesn't seem comfortable in this type of dynamic.
Right.
You know what? You might want to switch her and Beth around.
I don't know.
Because I think Beth could hold her own with Graves.
Yeah.
As a wrestler.
Yeah.
And then you put Renee with Morrow, who does like actual sports broadcasting.
Yeah.
It might be a better fit.
Might be.
I just think that they think that what's her name again?
Which one?
The blonde one. The one that we're
Which
talking
one?
about.
You mean Renee Young?
Yes.
Renee or Beth?
Renee Young. I think they just think that she's like their Michelle Beadle. Like she's like the cash cow of like female analysis for the WWE. Because that's what they pushed her as.
At one time, she was.
She doesn't do much analysis.
I know, but that's what they pushed
Yeah.
her. It's like, oh look, attractive girl that knows wrestling.
At one time, she was. In fact, there was the rumor that ESPN was looking at her.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case now.
No, I mean, really, for me, it all comes down to if you're going to run a broadcast like that, you go back to the way Gorilla used to do it, and you go, okay, you'd go for the joke, and then you pull it back and you go, all right, Cole, it's your job to sit there and say, joke, okay, just call the match. You don't have to join in. You don't have to pick a winner. Just ignore whatever they said. Go, Corey, and then go, and in the ring, this.
And that's where having a two-person booth will help tremendously.
But I can tell you, the two-person, I don't see it sticking because they just have too many people hired. And so even if they made it 2-person, it'll be 3-person within a couple months. Just because they just have so many people and they keep trying to stick people up and down. And then if someone gets sick, then another person comes in and they like that and they keep so it never seems to stay.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It gets
I think it's
Vinced.
possible. Yeah, it gets McMahonized. So
Nice.
Great discussion. We've said before the winners are going to be the fans because if you can't find something that you enjoy to watch when it comes to professional wrestling, then I think you need to go in a different direction. And by the way, we've said this 100 times. It's okay to watch AEW and NXT.
Yeah.
And Monday Night Raw or Smackdown and Ring of Honor, or you can watch everything and you can like everything. Mm-hmm. This is something, and here's in just popping my head. This is this age, social media and everything. This is something that we didn't have back in the Monday Night Wars. You didn't have social media. Mm-hmm. Just enjoy it. And if your friend likes NXT and you like AEW, guess what? That's okay.
Yeah, it seems like everyone these days wants to pick sides.
Don't pick sides.
You don't have to pick sides.
No.
The only time you have to pick sides is which one am I going to watch on Wednesday's night and which one am I going to DVR.
Right. You can like the wrestlers, not the businesses.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, you can like the wrestlers.
I watch UFC, I watch Bellator, I watch the PFL.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll stay up really late or get up really early and watch stuff in Japan.
Yeah.
Ryzen or One.
It's
just fun.
Yeah.
Now, does that explain why I'm single? Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe.
Not to mention all this wrestling that's coming up.
I know.
No, it's definitely not you. It's just them.
It is them.
It is them.
It
is their fault.
But the question is, is when somebody asks you, well, which one's your favorite? Because we always get that question asked about anything in life.
Yeah.
Color, food,
everything's
car.
always got to be absolute.
Yeah. Us as Americans love putting labels on things.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but like skin tone to height to anything, we have to have a label for you. So when it comes to pro wrestling, somebody's going to ask you, which one's your favorite? I'm interested to see what people are going to start saying come 2020.
You know what I'll just say? ECW.
ECW. The original or the rematch?
See, there you go again.
New
Jack wrestling with the music going the whole time during the match.
Yeah.
Afterborn Killer. That's the favorite.
Is anybody excited about the
Is he still alive?
Yes, New Jack is still
alive.
Yeah.
He was at Branded Outlaw Wrestling about a month or so ago, I think.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
He will still hurt you.
I believe it.
And he will still hurt you.
Is anybody interested or excited about the NWA coming back?
I was just about to ask that.
Because I've been wanting to talk about that for like an hour.
They have announced besides Ricky Starks is signed with them. The current Inspire Pro Pure Prestige champion. Eddie Kingston is going to be at the TV tapings.
Oh, he's already cool.
Eddie Kingston.
Okay.
I love Eddie to death. Allison Kay, of course, the World Women's Champion, but also Thunder Rosa.
Oh yeah,
our friend Thunder Rosa.
Are you guys going to cover Combata Madagas?
Yes.
In San Antonio when they show up?
Mel Cervantes.
I'd like to.
AKA Thunder Rosa.
It just depends on the timing. I have season tickets.
Yeah, but they also have Marty Bell. Used to work TNA. She was part of the Dollhouse faction in TNA.
But it's interesting because what Patrick said earlier about, and we mentioned it with BN Sports, is like, okay, well, they're running in small bar. It doesn't look amazing.
Well, this is going to be a studio.
I understand, but it's a small studio.
Right.
It's like old school NWA stuff. And no offense for you, again, no offense, it might hold a lot of nostalgia value.
Right.
But for somebody like me that didn't grow up watching that, and it looks second rate.
Right.
You know what looks second rate?
And I wonder about
Georgia
that
logo. You see that?
That's a throwback logo.
They made a big deal about it on Twitter. I'm like,
because it's a throwback.
I get it.
It looks like the old Georgia Championship Wrestling.
I know, but it's all nostalgia. It's just like
that's
Billy.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know how much it speaks to the nude.
Yeah,
fan.
I do wonder that.
If you want a
about
bunch of
that myself.
50-year-olds,
Yeah,
it'll work.
great.
But some of us, I'm not 50 yet, but
I'm getting there.
people have problems.
By the way, that first
make
night
it
they're going to have Tim Storm get his rematch for the world title against Nick Aldis. So, it'll be interesting to see, and I don't even know where that's going to be. You know, we know it's going to be taped on September 30th and October 1st in Atlanta at the Georgia Public Broadcasting Studios. Mm-hmm. But where that content will end up, who knows? We'll see. Great discussion. It's going to be strap in. It's going to be a wild ride for the next several months with all this wrestling. Coming up next, Ring of Honor's got a pay-per-view this weekend, and Silas Young, the last real man, is going to join us to talk about his match because he's teaming up with an interesting character. You'll hear that next on The Horn.
This is pro wrestling's last real man, Silas Young, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on The Horn. Ring of Honor has a great pay-per-view this Friday, Death Before Dishonor. They head to Sin City, Sam's Town Live in Las Vegas this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. One of the great matches. You've got the Bouncers, Beer City Bruiser, Brawler Malonas, taking on the unlikely duo of Vinny Marcellia from the Kingdom and our guest joining us on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. He is wrestling's last real man, a pride of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Silas Young, how are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you doing today?
I'm good. So you're in Milwaukee, so I got to imagine you're a Packers fan, right?
Absolutely. You have to be a Packer fan if you grew up in the state of Wisconsin, I think.
Believe me, I understand. I'm in Texas, so you can probably guess which team I root for. Packers got a good win yesterday against the Broncos.
Yeah, they absolutely did. You know, I think going into the season, you know, all the so-called football experts weren't expecting a whole lot from the Packers, but I think they're doing pretty good. Our defense is good. I've been happy with. First game wasn't, they won, wasn't all that great, but this game it looked like, they actually showed up and were the Packers that we know.
Yeah, they're starting to really turn it on. The defense is looking great. They get the Eagles next week, which, again, as a Cowboys fan, I'm going to root hard for the Packers because, the Eagles should never win anything. But then the Packers do head to Arlington. They'll come to Jerry World to face the Cowboys first Sunday in October. That should be a great game. Do you follow the other teams up there in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I follow the Brewers and the Bucks a little bit, and for college I follow University of Wisconsin, but not as much as the Packers. I think the Packers is definitely my sport or my team to watch.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I saw a little bit of Wisconsin, Michigan on Saturday. What a great win for the Badgers, and Michigan, boy, I tell you what, they are needing some help. It for sure. Let me ask you this, because you and I have met a few times, and I always get the sense you're kind of almost like an old school throwback with a contemporary twist. You just have that old school feel to you, but at the same time, your style's very modern. When you were, as a wrestling fan, who was it that inspired you or captured your attention?
I don't think that there's necessarily any like one or two guys. I think I kind of liked wrestling in general. I guess there was probably obvious answers of guys like the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan, but I also remember really liking guys like Ric Flair or Arn Anderson. Basically any of the Four Horsemen. They were always just such believable guys. You believed everything that they were telling you or what they were trying to sell you on. So I think guys like that. I also like guys like Barry Windham. Just guys who felt real and authentic. I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah, and that makes sense because that's kind of the sense I get from you. You know, whenever I see you in the ring or come across, it's very authentic. It's there's no nonsense. You come in the ring, you do your business. By the way, I saw on Twitter. Of course, you can follow Silas Young at Last Real Man ROH on Twitter. I saw on Twitter. I think it was late last week. You just shot a commercial for, I guess it was a local pizza chain up in Milwaukee. How fun was that?
Yeah, man, that was awesome. It was actually it's for Palermo's Pizza. Now I'm not sure if that's I think it's a nationwide company. They have a line called the Screamin' Sicilian, which on the cover of it has a big mustache on it. So they Ring of Honor is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting. Sinclair Broadcasting has some stations all over the country, and I think they must have been working with Palermo's about trying to do a commercial, and I was approached about it. It was awesome, man. It was so much fun. I'm excited to see how it turns out. It's very much a very campy, funny pro wrestling type of commercial. So I think it's something that's gonna turn out really good, and that the fans are gonna enjoy. People will get a good laugh at. And for myself, it's just it's like another feather in my cap. It's just another opportunity, or hopefully something that builds for other opportunities in the future as well. So it was definitely something really, really cool.
Absolutely. It looked like it was a lot of fun. By the way, you can catch Ring of Honor Wrestling here in Austin, 11:05 p.m. Central on Saturday nights on CBS Austin. You've kind of taken Josh Woods under your wing. Looks like, he's looking to you as kind of, to be a mentor. What do you see in him that you can help him develop, and how has that process been so far?
Well, just for a little something for the fans in case they don't know, Josh Woods is a legitimate, collegiate wrestling champion. He's I think he's like a 4-time All-American. I know he's like a 2-time national champion. I think he went to the University of Central Florida or something like that. I could be wrong about the name of the college, but I know that he has a really accomplished background in collegiate wrestling, and he's a guy who he'd actually gotten signed to a developmental deal by WWE right out of college. And it was at a time where there was so many guys from the independents getting signed. And, I think he was just a case of getting, lost in the mix a little bit. So after that had kind of ran its course, he had, still had the drive and wanted to do pro wrestling, and went and did a Ring of Honor trial camp a couple of years back. And he's a guy that, I've seen around the locker room, and, he's a good dude. He definitely has all the skills, based just on what he did in his past before even getting into pro wrestling. But, he's also got the right attitude and the right type of personality for the pro wrestling business. So, seeing him around in the locker room the last couple of years, I really started to take a liking to him. And, I just realized that, a lot of times in wrestling, you need someone sometimes to put their neck out for you, or, give you an opportunity. And I felt like I've been with the company for 6 years now, over 6 years. And, I thought, I would stick my neck out for Josh and, take this opportunity because he had the right attitude and he has the right drive and determination. So it's, honestly, it was something I wanted to do. I wasn't exactly sure how it would go, but, we definitely have, we have different personality types. So we have clashes, but, I think so far, everything that we've done has been really good. I think the fans are enjoying what we're doing. I'm enjoying it. Josh is enjoying it. So I think it's something that's just going to keep growing. And, I think it's going to be really good, and I'm really excited about it, actually.
I am too. I've seen Josh before. I think he was part of the Top Prospect tournament a couple of years ago. Got to see him in that, and I've seen him in various matches, and he's got, he's tough as nails. I think he's had some MMA training as well, so incorporating some of that. But yeah, a great young kid, and I think you and he make a wonderful duo. Let's talk about Friday night. You are going to be in this tag match, and you're tagging up with, as I mentioned, Vinny Marcelli from the Kingdom. Now, is this simply a matter of the enemy of my enemy is my ally? Is that as simple as it is?
Well, you know what? I mean, that is one way you can look at it, but I think this is something that's kind of it's multi-layered. There's, the fact that, I am taking a guy like Josh Woods under my wing, and, he may be, in a great spot for himself, but he's very, inexperienced, so to speak. And, there's lessons I'm trying to teach him, So I think, one of the lessons that I'm trying to teach him here a little bit is that, sometimes you make unlikely alliances in pro wrestling, coming into the pay-per-view, I realized that Josh and myself hadn't been, wrestling as much. We hadn't gotten an opportunity to maybe win ourselves a title opportunity for the tag titles. And, Bruiser and I have our history, and I felt like it was a good way to get myself on the pay-per-view, because when you're on the pay-per-view, you make more money. So that comes down to the whole making unlikely alliances thing, because, quite honestly, Vinny, he's a little messed up in the head. There's something wrong with him. He's definitely not the type of guy that I would be hanging with or associating myself with, but it felt like the right place and the right opportunity. And that's kind of where that alliance is formed. And so, it's for professionally speaking, it's to teach Josh a lesson, and it's to get a little bit of payback at Bruiser. So it's kind of threefold if you look at it like that.
Right, yeah. We know the history between you and Beer City Bruiser, and as you said, Vinny Marcelli, I've had him on the show, and you're right. He is a different cat for sure. There's a reason why they call him the Horror King. So, and you mentioned titles. You're a former 2-time World TV champion. Do you see you and Josh, or you and Vinny maybe going for the tag straps? Could you see yourself trying to insert yourself back into the TV title picture, or maybe even take on Matt Taven or whoever ends up with the world title after this weekend? Do you see yourself getting in those pictures soon?
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you're in the pro wrestling business and you've gotten to this level, gold should always be on your mind. Being a champion is why we all do this. It's why we put our bodies on the line. It's not just because we love it, but being a champion means, honestly, it means bigger paychecks. It means bigger opportunities. It means bigger exposure. So I think gold is always on the mind, and if it's not, it should be.
You're absolutely right. Talking with Silas Young. Follow him on Twitter at LastRealManROH. Silas, before I let you go, like we said, Death Before Dishonor is in Las Vegas. I know you've been to Las Vegas many times. Give me one or two of your favorite things about being in Sin City.
Well, I think you said it right there. It's Sin City. I mean, for a man like myself, it's a city that allows men to be men. You can go out and you can party, you can drink all night. There's gambling. There's everything that a guy could want in that city. And I always enjoy hitting up the casinos, going down to Fremont Street. I might have even done a time or two of the zip lining. It's kind of just one of those great cities where there's always something to do, and if you can't find something fun to do, then you must be more miserable than the last real man.
What's your go-to casino game? Blackjack, roulette, what?
I like roulette. It's definitely a different type of game. But I like blackjack too, but I would definitely say roulette is my go-to. I think it's exciting. It's fun, and honestly, you really don't need any skill to play it. You just got to be able to guess numbers. That's about it.
It's all about the luck. I get you. Silas Young. Right. He will be at Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor. That's this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, from Sam's Town Live in Las Vegas. Catch it on pay-per-view on Fight TV or on Ring of Honor Club, and follow him on Twitter at LastRealManROH. Silas, it's great to talk to you. All the best to you. Safe travels to Las Vegas. And I just saw the alert that Ring of Honor is heading to Texas in November, so hopefully I'll get to catch up with you there, okay?
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on.
As we mentioned, Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, this Friday night on pay-per-view. And thanks to our friends at Fight TV, we've got a way for you to see it. Here's what you do. We're going to put up a tweet. Follow us at SGTWATX. We're going to put up a tweet. Make sure you, follow us on Twitter, retweet that tweet and like it. And then on Friday at noon Central, we will pick a winner. We'll send you the message, and you will get a coupon code so that you can watch Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor for free on Friday night. So make sure you follow us on Twitter. Follow Fight TV on Twitter, by the way, at Fight TV. And retweet and like that tweet that we're going to put up. And you could be watching Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor for free. When we come back from this timeout, we'll let you know what's happening in independent wrestling around the area. You're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn.
Hey, this is the bad boy, Joey Janela, and you're listening to the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons, Eddie Cross, Patrick Davis.
You realize we went through this whole episode talking about AEW, the whole possibility of Wednesday Night Wars, and we didn't once mention Joey Janela.
I know. My catch hell or high water, come hell or high water broadcast partner.
I'm just like, we were talking about AEW. I know we have to move on, but real quick, when we say I'm not sure if they can do what they do every week, I'm specifically talking about guys like Allen and Joey Janela. It's
and
like how
Jimmy
many
Havoc.
like how many thumbtacks can you have in your feet?
Yeah, you're right.
And then be well enough to compete the next week.
I agree.
Also, let's hope they don't try to push too many pay-per-views. We don't need extra takeovers.
I've heard it's going to be 5 or 6. I think that's about as much as they want.
So they have to establish, I was
thinking 4.
Is the WrestleMania of AEW going to be all in every year?
So.
Is that how it's
I think so.
You think so?
Just because that's what started it.
I mean, it makes sense.
So, we've got a lot of independent wrestling happening this weekend, and so we got to tell you about it. We are going to start tomorrow night. Lucha Brutal presents Trial by Fire tomorrow night at the MPX Arena in Bedford. Bell time, 7 p.m. Thunder Rosa will be there. The Young Gun, Chandler Hopkins, Jordan Lennox, Will Alday, and more. That's Lucha Brutal tomorrow night in Bedford. DFW All Pro Wrestling presents When Worlds Collide 2. It is an intergender show Friday night at American Legion Post 655 in Haltom City. Bell time, 7:30 p.m. You've got Lugatti Starrett, Jazz, Nate Collins, Killa Kate, Alice Gracia, and more. That's DFW All Pro Wrestling Friday night in Haltom City. Pride and Glory Pro Wrestling presents live pro wrestling Saturday night at the Lone Star Indoor Sports Center in Denton. Bell time, 7:30 p.m. Ashton Jacobs, Jackson Stone, and more. That's Pride and Glory Saturday night in Denton. And then Anarchy Championship Wrestling presents the Evolution of the Revolution 2019. That's Sunday at the Mohawk on Red River here in Austin. Bell time, 6 p.m. Sky De La Cremosa will defend the ACW Hardcore Championship against Christy Janes. That's been a big rivalry brewing in ACW. The ACW World Heavyweight Champion, the unholy Isaiah James, and the Insidious One in tag action against Dmitry Alexandrov and Wesley Crane, representing Excessive Violence. Plus, you got Alabama taking on JC Bravo, Miranda Alize taking on Phoebe, and more. That's Anarchy Championship Wrestling Sunday night right here in the ATX. And that's your look at independent wrestling around the area. Make sure you go out, see some wrestling, see some of these stars that you may end up seeing in one of the various promotions that are going to be on TV pretty soon.
That's the only thing I'm sad about, man. If I would have just came across the industry and was an active wrestler 10 years from when I started, I might have a shot.
You missed your shot.
I had a shot. Somebody would have signed me. I mean, right? They just snapping up talent.
There's always time to go back.
Oh, dude, I've seen I have to be honest. Like from what I learned and how to pro wrestle, the stuff that you have to do nowadays just to get viewed, I wouldn't be able to do. I'm not willing to put my body out there like that in front of 50 people. These guys are like,
hey man, you just got to talk the talk.
I could talk the talk all day, man. That's not hard.
Hey,
but when
how
you
did,
have to,
how did Enzo make it to the big leagues?
That's a great question. I don't know how Enzo actually got there.
Talking the talk.
A lot of people are asking that question.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sometimes just about your mouth.
But,
No
I'm
kidding.
used to seeing guys like Sammy Guevara jumping off of insane heights and Joey
Yes.
Janela, and everybody has a suicide dive in every match now. And it's just like the risk and the transition moves that used to be finishers or big-time body on the line. You don't want to have to pull that every match. It's just commonplace now that I wouldn't be able to keep up at that pace.
That's true.
I would break my... I have to say this. I'm really interested to see 10 years down the line from now, are all these guys going to still be competing because of the style that they wrestle? Because Japan, a lot of these guys have done a lot of time in Japan, and, they're dropping each other on their necks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They try to make it look more realistic by making it almost real. And to me, I'm a little old school in this regard. A lot of the pride of taking the pride of the craft of professional wrestling is to make it look real without it actually hurting your opponent.
Right.
Like I spent hours trying to master a punch that didn't hurt somebody, and then you have these new guys out there that are just going to go up and whack you in the face as hard as they can with their forearm, because that's just how pro wrestling is now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right,
I
so
just talk about it.
Justin, what do you got going on this weekend?
Oh, I got the double header on Saturday. Besides the Friday night show I host on ASN Sports, I will be covering St. Edward's women's soccer on Saturday afternoon, so you can listen to that on GoHilltoppers.com. And then I have the San Antonio High School game of the week. It's going to be on Saturday instead of Thursday night this week over at Alamo Stadium, the one next
Alamo
down,
Stadium.
Yeah,
Yes.
historic Alamo Stadium. That will be on KSAT. I believe they'll be streaming. They might put that one on TV too, just because it's Saturday night and they can actually show it live.
Yeah, they can do that.
So we'll see.
Do you know who are the teams?
No, I don't know who the teams are just yet.
Okay.
I'm thinking they're going to give us the late game.
Yeah.
So I have to go do my research, but we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get a good matchup.
All right, Eddie Cross, you got a lot of MMA going
Lots
this
of
weekend.
combat sports this
combat
weekend. Luckily,
sports.
the horns are off, so I won't have to spend 6
Thank
hours in the
God.
stadium.
They need it.
I do. I need a break too.
They need it. I mean, you
They
talk
do.
about Caden
Oh,
Stearns is out for
walking
4
wounded.
weeks.
Yeah.
Who else was out for 4 weeks?
Well, we already got DeMarvian, Overshawn, and
they're hoping Overshawn and BJ Foster are back.
hopefully they got another 2 weeks to get better.
Yeah, they'll when they
another
go to West Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
You can always put a Quirrell boy in the secondary.
That's
again,
right.
If you want to.
That's right.
Whittington. But no, we've got UFC Copenhagen on Saturday.
That's
We have
right.
Bellator Dublin Friday. Bellator LA on Saturday.
When is Jake Hager fighting?
Sometime in October, I believe.
Is it
End of
October? Okay,
or
that's
early
what I thought.
November.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Errol Spence Sean Porter
That's right.
matchup on Saturday night too.
Was it Porter that was on Fox NFL Sunday in that sweet suit?
I missed it.
I think it may have been.
I wasn't paying as
I
much
think it
attention
was.
Sunday because the
Yeah.
Bears played on Monday.
I think it was. I mean, that was a.
I did
that
a
was
lot.
hell
I
of
did
a
a lot of sleep on Sunday just to make up. For
I was
the
like, I
weekend.
partied pretty hard on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Took back old school.
That's my weekend.
Patrick.
and at some point, I got to go see Rambo.
Oh, there you go, Patrick. What do you
who's
guys
in?
on this weekend?
Well, we'll say if you're listening live right now, you can flip over to 105.3 The Bat as soon as we get off. And what?
That's
and,
right.
We'll
Lex
play
Luger
playing
over
an
here.
hour of all local music. You can go check out this weekend around town. So that's coming up on 105.3 The Bat 5 and 2 right after this. But we got the horns off, so I don't have to do coach's show. I don't have to. It's a nice off week
Yeah,
for me. I
you
have to
get
do a
to
lot of
know.
stuff. Maybe I'll go
That's
check out
relaxing.
Anarchy Championship. I haven't seen him yet.
Yeah.
I haven't gone out there.
Okay.
I've been to the Mohawk plenty of times.
All right.
But that's
yeah,
just
come
I'm drunk,
out.
so.
Come out. Friday night, Lake Travis takes on Austin High at Cavalier Stadium. That'll be, this is the quirk that we mentioned last week with the 25-6A schedule. Bowie started district play with Lake Travis. They'll end with Westlake. Every other team has to do Westlake and Lake Travis back-to-back.
Oh, wow.
So Austin High, they got demolished by Westlake last week. Now they go to Cavalier Stadium, take on the Cavaliers this Friday night. Pregame 7:15, kickoff 7:30. Mark Honig, Bucky Godbolt in the booth. I'll be on the sidelines. You can hear that on 104.9 FM and on hornfm.com. We mentioned the Longhorns are off this weekend, so enjoy some good college football.
Yes.
And then Sunday night football, the 3-0 Dallas Cowboys
Hell yeah.
will
Easiest 3-0 ever.
head to the Big Easy. They will take on the Saints.
The Drew Brees Saints.
That's right. Teddy Bridgewater
Hey.
leading the Saints.
Don't get too excited.
Breezeless.
Seahawks did too.
But that kickoff, 7:20 pregame, I think is an hour before. You can catch that on the Horn. That'll be an interesting test. This will be the first kind of serious test for the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they don't have a slow start like they did against the Dolphins. So,
let me ask you guys before we sign off. Are you guys excited that the Revolution's going to be playing Longhorn City Limits when the Horns are back at home?
Who?
The Revolution, Prince's band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. I saw that on social media. I was like, dude, the Revolution's coming? I might have to make it out for that.
I thought you said Revolution.
No, the Revolution.
That's a reggae band. I was like,
hey.
That's interesting. That'd be nice.
But without Prince, though, I mean,
I know.
But still,
it's like I've seen the Wailers, but without Bob Marley, it's just like a bunch of guys.
I had Sheila E. on the Super Bowl.
See, that's
once,
different.
But that's different. My thanks to everybody that joined for coming here. Patrick Davis, tell everybody how they can find you on social media.
It's Patrick Davis on Twitter, also at Insinserious and at 512 Radio on all social medias.
Right.
Easy to find my show.
Insinserious Monday nights on the Horn, 512 Radio Wednesday nights on 105.3 The Bat. Eddie Cross, who is on host Fight Night ATX, the show that precedes us.
You can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Fight Night ATX. My personal is at Eddie Experience 1E in the middle. We're on Wednesdays at 9. Come get punched in the face with us.
That's right. That'll do it for Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. You can follow.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to leave me out. I was like,
no, I do it for you.
Follow Justin.
Well, okay. In that case.
Because like when Eddie came in, because people don't know, when Eddie came in, he said hi to everybody. And he didn't say hi to me, so I was like, oh, hi.
That's right.
Hey, Justin, how's it going?
Well, usually when I'm here,
you know how I do this spiel. Come on.
I know. My bad.
Anyway,
timing's a little off. Go ahead. Finish it up.
That's okay.
Finish it up.
That'll do it for Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. You can follow Justin the Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are proud to be the official broadcast partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and proud to be part of the great lineup you hear every day on the flagship station for your Texas Longhorns and your radio home in Austin for the Dallas Cowboys. We are the Horn. Catch us Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. Central, or you can catch us anytime by going to hornfm.com, click on the on-air tab, or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. For Patrick, for Eddie, for Justin, I'm Stu. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. We will see you at the matches.
Goodbye and good night.